First batch of microgreens, looking good. I'm going to be harvesting those today. I am seeing a little bit of yellowing here and there. So my next batch, I'm going to try it with Miracle-Gro soil instead of the burlap little mat that I used last time. Peppers and onions, nothing happening yet. But this basil is coming off the heat mat. So what does that do? That creates a spot on my heat mat. Time to plant more seeds. Covers are now off the carrots and the romaine in the sunroom. They've all sprouted. Here they come. Looking good. Came out to the garden shed to check on my winter sowing experiment. And wouldn't you know it, half the snow is gone. And knowing me, I'm thinking, they look a little thirsty. I didn't cave. I piled on some fresh snow. Because I know the forecast looks really good right now. That can change in a flash. And we could be down to minus 30 for weeks. Hopefully not. Would you look at that? Beautiful sunshine. Absolutely gorgeous. It's January 29th. 50 days until spring. Of course, spring here is like winter, but that's okay. 50 days till spring. According to Farmer's Almanac, I am currently at 18 weeks till my last frost date. My last frost date, according to Farmer's Almanac, is June the 3rd. And that's what I'm going with. And that's what I'm going to continue to call my last frost date, June the 3rd, according to Farmer's Almanac. Experience here has told me my first spring here, my last frost date was June 17th, Father's Day weekend. Last year, June the 30th. But with this mild winter we're having, I'm going with June 3rd. June 3rd, last frost date. Here we go. Quick soil block tip while I was making them today. When I'm doing my wiggle, wiggle, wiggle and pressing all that soil in there, notice the water, how it's nice and even across the 4 blocks. That is the perfect indicator of a nice solid block. Hello garden friends, and welcome back to my swell garden. Before I start today's video, I want to put a huge shout out there to my subscribers, old and new. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for following along. So today I am doing some planting since I have room and I can. All the stuff I'm doing today is going to be pretty much container grown indoors until probably at least March or April. It's way too cold in the sunroom for anything that needs the heat. It has to be inside. So we're starting off today with loofah. I had some pretty good success with my loofah last year. I did make a couple of mistakes, so I've learned from that experience. I started them in January. By March, they were crawling up the support that I had given them and going across the window. I did manage to harvest 2 in total of my loofah, so I still got sponges, so that's good, but I want a lot more this year. A couple of mistakes that I made was, first off, when I put it from the soil block into a pot, I selected like an 8-inch ceramic type pot. So it was drying out continuously. I had to water it every day, if not sometimes twice a day. It was really not sufficient for the needs. And it had gotten so long and so fast that I was worried if I transplanted it would take on too much damage. So there it sat in the little pot. And that was fine in the sunroom. It's great. Then I decided to paint the sunroom. So I had to move this thing outside. So it took on quite a bit of damage. I had already harvested a couple still in kind of the winter season in the sunroom. So I was happy with that, but it never did quite recover. So this year I am going to do them in a large grow bag. I think my largest ones that I have, I think they're 3-gallon is the largest size that I currently have anyway. So I'm planning to do my loofahs in those and make sure I build a really nice trellis for them. And if they have to stay inside, they have to stay inside because I've got the room. It could stay in there all summer this year. I want lots of loofah. Next up, we are doing chickpeas, garbanzo beans. So I had originally bought these for my sprouts and microgreens experiment, but you know, I love chickpeas, so I'm planting chickpeas. So again, it's gonna go, when I transplant these up from the soil blocks, it's gonna go into a large grow bag with lots of support that's tall, because these are gonna get big indoors pretty fast. So I'll be dealing with that, but that's okay. That's a problem I like to have. Plants that are too big, not a problem. So next up is a rosemary. I want rosemary as a perennial. In London, it was fine. I had rosemary as a perennial, but not here so far. The first year I planted them, it didn't come back. And then last year I planted it, and just as an insurance policy, I took a cutting. So this is the cutting I've had all winter in the sunroom. Doing great, it's beautiful. So no matter what, I'll have rosemary ready to go. So I'm planting 4 of these. I'm doing 4 of everything for the most part. I'm sneaking in some crazy stuff here today. Next up is a eucalyptus. I also had great luck with my eucalyptus last year, but over the winter, I got some nice cuttings. So I did get some branches that I've got in my garden shed, but it got, I don't know if it was spider mites or what it was, but it had succumbed to something. So I still have it. I just quarantined it in a plastic bag, and there it sits until I can get it outside and get those natural predators to work and hose it off, basically, right? So we definitely want to do more eucalyptus. Actually, I'm going to move over to a smaller one here, because I used 2 different sizes on my soil blocker of the divots today, because some of the stuff has to go pretty deep, so we want to make sure they got a good start. You know, we're going to all this work, we want success, right? All right, so eucalyptus done. Where is my tag for eucalyptus? Oh, I have to move my tag. There we go. Eucalyptus. Artichoke. I want artichoke so bad. Yeah. Can it happen in my zone? You know, I don't know. But I did put 3 in the yard last year. So if they come back, major score. In the meantime, I'm starting some more. Insurance, right? The instructions on the artichoke, you start them from seed, and then you have to put them through the cold after they've sprouted. Like, you let them grow on for a little bit, and then you've got to take them for cold stratification. It's kind of like faking it through the winter, and that way you get artichokes that year. And I did that last year. Of course, they never got big enough for an artichoke. I did have a bud though, but I had a bud, so you know, that's something, right? So okay, something's wrong here. Artichoke. Where's my rosemary? Okay, so for anybody who's like really paying attention, I have my rosemary here. I had to actually pause the video and go back and look, because I'm like, I know I planted rosemary, but I don't see any rosemary here. I didn't plant the rosemary. So now I'm planting the rosemary. I took them out, did all that blah, 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 and then put the seeds in. Okay, 4 rosemary, done. Okay, so here's the crazy part. I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen. I'm gonna start some tomatoes now. Like, it's way too early, but my trials that I did last year in January, just for fun, you know, to keep me busy so I wouldn't get going too early. So I did have tomatoes growing monstrous in the summer, and we were harvesting really early, like March. So I'm doing tomatoes again, but I'm going to do 1 Sun Gold tomato and 1 tomato Mountain Merit. So I chose the Mountain Merit because it's really the only of all of my tomatoes that I have that is determinate. So, you know, if we can keep it the size down somewhat. 1 Sun Gold. 1 Mountain Merit. I could just leave that other one in there, but I know myself. I won't thin. I'll be like, oh, it'll be fine. It's not fine. You don't want to overcrowd your plants. You don't need to be fighting for nutrition. Merit. One more, and it's a crazy one. I've got the room. It's okay. So in the whole thought process of companion planting, you know how I planted my peppers and onions at the same time to deter pests, hoping that this actually might work indoors. I know it works outdoors, but does it work indoors? I don't know. I'm going to do a couple of marigolds. This is a new one to me. It's a marigold buttercream I'm very excited about. I chose this one because it's new and exciting. It's an African marigold. Normally when you're wanting to deter aphids and all that sort of stuff, all those pests, when you're going with your marigolds, you want to pick a French marigold. But you know what? African marigold it is today. Rosemary tag. Okay, so again, because these are going to be in here a long time, I'm going to cover them. But like I say, I don't normally. I just leave the little divot. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I'm going to take this over to my indoor greenhouse. Spritz, spritz, spritz. And then cover it with a dome. On the heat mat it goes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Now get growing.